It is 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 5 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 27th of March in the year of our Lord 2025, season 15, episode 37. 706 times you have been welcome to the Clubhouse Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things sports, entertainment, pop culture, and pro wrestling, right here at Sunset Lounge DFW. Welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast, and I am now a front pocket wallet guy because I'm fancy. That way for me is my co-host and a man that took a second there. He is Alex.
Oh, I didn't take a second. I think I might be on a delay.
You have definitely on a delay. Wow.
The randomness is what got me.
I just decided a couple of days ago, I have been told that having a wallet in your back pocket is bad for you because it throws off your balance. And so I've never been there is an adjustment. It is taking some getting used to, but I got one of those little put your cards in the thing on the thing, and it's metal that goes in and it has a little thing and they go whoop. And it's definitely an adjustment, but you know, I'm getting to the age I got to start thinking about it.
Well, it's interesting to me because I've literally never kept a wallet in my back pocket. Now, for me, it was more along the lines of sitting and the balance with, for those that don't know, my back being jacked up. But I always had to keep my wallet in my front pocket. Otherwise, I couldn't feel my legs. So,
well, and my other thing that it took me a while to find one to test with because I didn't want one that clipped to my pocket because I think that looks weird. And I also have a business card holder that's going to be in the same pocket. So I don't know, but I did.
I want to hear Don's response on this.
Well, I did warm up for a couple of days before that by putting just a couple of cards and my wallet in my business card holder so I could start to get used to it a little bit. So the learning curve is there. Still working through it. At the bottom of your screen is the official fact checker of Sooner Gator Productions and a man that likes to go to screenings and sit on the opposite side of the theater no matter where I sit. You may know him as Igbunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Hey, man.
Well, speaking of movies, what's one thing when we talk about movies is a good gauge of whether you're interested in the movie or not?
We haven't done it in a while, but I believe you are referring to the watch gauge. And what that refers to of how long a movie goes before I look to see how far into it we are.
Well, how often have you ever known me to wear one of these?
That's a nice looking watch, though.
It is a good looking watch, but I don't look at your wrists, bro.
No.
I got this from the Fantastic Faith Ford. It's one of those Jack Daniel watches made from the Jack Daniel crates that you may see
the
in
barrels
and stuff.
Yeah,
the barrels. Yeah,
nice.
She gave me a second one made with the Army crates from the ammo crates.
Nice.
So, yep, see that made with Jack Daniel barrel. It says old number 7 on there. So
now, I do want to clarify for anybody that's watching, we don't determine a movie being good or bad based on the watch gauge, because
it's a good
you could stare an awful long time at a train wreck, though.
But it's a good gauge.
It is a fair estimate of a gauge.
If Rob looks at the watch within 5 minutes, it's going to be a long film.
That doesn't happen that often.
Was that
Terrence Malick? That's all we have to say.
Was that the whole point of that, was to show off your watch?
I don't know, because it's a segue.
Yes, it was.
Segue, watch to
That's
watch.
not a segue.
Not a segue, because movie talk doesn't start for like another half an hour.
I'm starting early.
I just said, hey, I got a new watch. Look at my new watch.
I was waiting on the wallet conversation, and he wanted to talk about his watch.
I was reminding the back, right here. In the rear.
It's apparently bad for your back.
Well, that's why my back hurts all the time.
Well, that's why I bought this. I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm
okay.
Again, it's a little weird, but you know,
I still find it being weird in the back. In the back pocket makes no sense to me, and it never has.
All right, boys, let's dive right in. We do have a in memoriam real quick to do. George Foreman passing away at the age of 76 since we last got together. Trust me, we've got a lot to talk about tonight because due to some scheduling snafus, we could not get last week's show done, and we do apologize for that. George Foreman, absolute legend.
Proof that karma exists.
Yeah. Didn't they say like he made more in 1 year off the grills than he made in his entire career?
I want to say no. I want to say it was like 100 times his career in the first year of the George Foreman grills.
And charisma for days.
Oh, and likability.
Yep. And would never confuse any of the names of his children, even his daughter.
Was it 2 or 3 different versions? I forget.
I think he had like 6 kids.
Right, but
it was
all of the boys,
George, and Georgina.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I couldn't remember if the girls were divvied up by Georgia and Georgina, or if there was only Georgina, because I knew all the boys were George. But
yeah, I think he only had one daughter, if I'm not mistaken. No, all of his kids were named George except his daughter, who was named Georgina.
You know why I said so they won't forget who their father is. That's why he did it.
That was the statement he made. Yeah.
But I just don't know that they ever would, because he was
I don't know that we've talked about this, but I mentioned briefly about karma existing, because holy God, the amount of money that man made from the grills. Did you know he was not the first choice?
Allegedly. There are conflicting stories out there now.
I have heard 2 confirmation stories, one from less reliable, one from more reliable.
That allegedly it was originally offered to Hulk Hogan, who passed on it and then did the Hogan's magic bullet thing. And that.
Now, the unreliable source is Hogan himself. However, there are, what was the copywriting attorney's name? The one that they all used. Anyways, the one that handled all of the big name guys at WCW confirmed that Hogan was in discussion to be the grill guy.
We had one. I don't know if it was George Foreman, but we had something of its ilk.
And everybody does.
Kitchen.
Yep. And Michael Scott burned his foot on one because he likes to wake up to the smell of bacon.
Yep.
But I got one in our kitchen right now. It still works.
Honestly, I would argue that you can't find a kitchen in America that doesn't have something comparable.
Yeah.
Now,
at least in the early
he had 12 kids, 5 boys, all named George, but then they gave him nicknames of Monk, Big Will, Red, Little Joey. Well, and then he had 7 daughters, and only one was Georgetta. He had Natalia, Leona, Frida, Micah, Georgina, Isabel,
was
and
the one we
Courtney.
Knew.
Wow.
Okay.
12 kids.
Good for the girls.
I had just mentioned Michael Scott. Did you guys see that stat earlier this week?
No.
Stat?
So it was 20 years ago on Tuesday that The Office debuted.
Oh, wow.
4 days later, Grey's Anatomy debuted. So that hits 2 different levels in this house.
All you hear is the cash registers.
Yeah. So, a couple of NFL notes. Gardner Minshew is a Chief because why not?
Why not?
Stephon Diggs is a Patriot for 3 years. And do you want to talk about the other one?
Hey, the other one's not named Aaron Rodgers, so go for it.
Russell Wilson is a Giant.
Russell Wilson.
So,
you know what? At this point, it's a baseball season. I'm not going to throw a monkey wrench into that. All I can say about Russell Wilson is he's not Aaron Rodgers, and I'm cool with that.
That is fair. It is opening day.
Not be here in the next couple of weeks.
Today, did you see who threw out the first pitch at the Ranger game today?
That's what I was holding on to see if anybody else knew this. Oh, wait, I have a funny feeling there is one person who doesn't know, and it's the person who should really know.
Well, no, he said he didn't know.
I didn't know.
But that's what I'm saying. The one person who I think should know is the one who doesn't.
Throwing out the first pitch at the Rangers opening day today, Don.
Yeah.
That pitch was better than any pitch you'll throw. And you know it.
No.
Uh-huh.
He was there.
MJF threw the first pitch.
It was quite a diamond ring of a pitch.
I read that and I was like, Like, I get it because All In's going to be here, but
yeah, that's a good play.
Also kind of random.
That's opening day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, they want to make it. I mean,
I had a bunch of people send it to me, including one
AEW of in the ballpark. It's a good play to have them both in there. You know, why not?
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing,
especially since they have a deal with multiple venues there.
Yeah, it was just kind of like if you had given me 100 guesses,
unexpected.
I wouldn't have gotten to MJF. Especially for
and the only reason
day.
I got there was I actually had video sent to me from behind MJF going out for the first pitch. So,
oh wow. NBA updates, by the way, we've got 2 games in the Sweet 16 going on currently. Florida up by 3 with 6.5 to go in the first half, and Alabama is currently at halftime. Let's go Gators. Come on, boys. The ladies played earlier today. They played Tech, and there was some confusion on the S-spin because of it. Eastern Conference Atlantic Division, the Nets still hoping, as are the 76ers, to get to 500. They're 23 and 50 apiece, which puts them 32 back. And between them, they're on an 11-game skid. They are both 3 games back on Toronto, who's won 2 in a row. Toronto now 19 and a half back on the Knicks. The Celtics have clinched a playoff spot. They're 8.5 games up on the Knicks, and they're on a 7-game heater right now. In the Central Division, the Bulls probably not going to get to that 500 mark because they're 8 games below it. It's possible, but not likely. They're 26 out. They are 8 back of Milwaukee. The Bucks now a half game back of Detroit. Former champs of basketball are a game and a half back on Indiana. And Cleveland now has a 16-game lead in that division and has clinched it because we only have, 10 games to go? In the Southeast Division, the Washington Wizards, they're 40 games below 500. They'll be fine. 40 games below 500, and you're 19 games back in the division. Let me give you a minute to do the math on that. They're 2 games back of the Hornets. The Hornets now 13 back of Miami. Miami is 3.5 back of Orlando. Orlando's now a half game behind Atlanta, who is 2 games below 500 and lead the division. The Heat are in free fall as they are now 10 games below 500.
In the it's Western like Jimmy Butler doesn't help, but he definitely leaves voids when he goes.
Yeah. In the Pacific Division, Phoenix, you're 3 games below 500 and you're 9.5 back. That's, They're a half game back of Sacramento. Kings are 6 back on Golden State. Warriors are tied with the Clippers. They're both 3 back on the Lakers, who had a great buzzer beater last night. In the Southwest Division, Fly Pelican is 33 games below 500 and 27 back. They are 12 back of the Spurs. Spurs now 3 back of the Mavericks. Mavericks 9.5 back of Memphis. Memphis now 2.5 back of Houston. And in the Northwest Division, that only has 1 team that's clinched anything, and they've clinched the big one. Utah, the Jazz. What's it like to be 41 games below 500, but yet 44.5 back in the division? They are 16 games back of Portland. Portland now 9 games back of Minnesota. Timberwolves are 4.5 back of Denver. Denver is now 15 back of Oklahoma City, who's won 7 in a row and have now clinched home court throughout.
I'm surprised it took this long, if I'm being honest.
With 10 games to go. Let's look at your playoff situations. In the Eastern Conference, if the playoffs started today, above the red line, you've got Milwaukee, Detroit, Indiana, Knicks, Boston, Cleveland. In the red zone, Miami, Chicago is in the red zone for the play-in, and they sit above Miami. Tell me that 2 months ago. Miami, Chicago, Orlando, Atlanta. With 10 games left, there are still 3 teams that could get into the play-in if the planets align properly. And that would be Toronto, Philly, and Brooklyn. And let me remind you, those last two are tied at 23 and 50. And as I mentioned earlier, they are on an 11-game losing streak between them.
I have an idea. On this show, we fixed the college football playoff. We can do it again. Now, I wanted to ask you guys a general question about this. How do you feel about the play-in? That you take the bottom four? Do you not like its current structure or at all?
I don't like it at all.
Question again, Alex.
How do you feel about the play-in that the NBA uses, where you have what you had in the past, Don, was you had the top 8 seeds on a conference's side. You with me?
Okay.
Now you have your top 6, and then 4 teams play a play-in tournament to determine the 7th and 8th seed.
Okay.
How do you feel about that structure?
You mean for teams to get into the 64 you're talking about? Or
No. This is the NBA.
NBA, not NCAA, Don.
So basically, yes. So it's kind of like baseball where there's a 1-game wild card game.
That's a good analogy.
So it's kind of like that. I can see it either way because it gives those end teams a chance to get in. But hey, I have a better record than them. I should be in.
Well, fortunately, there's no teams with better records that don't get in because of the conference structure. So there's at least that. The reason I wanted to ask is because I know we have long made fun of the NBA for a numerous amount of things. But right now, when you're looking at it, in theory, if you count the play-in game, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 30 or 32? Well, I mean, just confirm. Is it 30 or 32 teams in the NBA?
It is 32.
Okay. So you have 20 out of 32 teams that technically make your playoffs. Now, the reason I wanted to ask was I was curious about a structure because that's too many teams to make the playoffs. Would we agree across the board?
I agree. Actually, I may be wrong. It may be
you would say, hold on, there's 30 teams.
Yeah, 30. I was wrong.
30.
Okay, so 2/3 of that's too many.
No, it's too many.
Would you agree, Don?
Yeah. I would say 16.
Okay. So, well, what I was going to say in that same scope, I feel like I like the play-in structure just because the unspoken benefit of it for the NBA. Now, while the play-in tournament happens, those top-seeded teams get a couple days to rest, and I think that that's earned. However, I think 10 teams is too much, so NBA, hear me. I think you drop it down to 4 teams get in, 4 teams make the play-in. Top 2 teams get a pass for a week. They get to go on vacation. Do the exact same structure where you're now at 3, 4, and then the play-in. So that gives you 8 teams total, same amount that you used to have. Do the same thing, only instead of the 7-8 game, you have 5-6 play. Whoever wins that's your 5 seed. They play the 4. Then you do the rest of your tournament. Whoever loses that game plays against the winner of the 7-8 seed, and the winner of that and the 7-8 winner becomes your 6th seed. And then they have theirs and they're off. Okay, so you have 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5, and 1 and 2 get their bye week. Now, I know there's also the aspect of, they could get rusty or whatever. It's like, this is what they do for a living. So I am thinking that you cap it at 8 teams, but you keep the play-in. Rob?
It almost sounds like you're going to the NFL structure.
Very comparable, yes.
I would say use the NFL structure. Add 1 team in each conference, so you've got 32. You can have 4 divisions and 2 wild cards. Now, my other thought process there is simple. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I will say it as long as I walk God's green earth. If you are not above 500, you don't make the playoffs, and it adds another wild card. There is no reason to reward someone who can't win more games than they lose and pay those players even more for a playoff run. Now,
I think one of the problems you have with the NBA. Sorry.
This is also being said as a Marlins fan who got in as the wild card and won the World Series. But I does not mean I agree with it.
Now, I think the hard part you have with the NBA there is because it's so deep in its current structure, it is almost a statistical impossibility that every team has a winning record, even if you do the wild card thing. So I think you wind up with shorter playoffs than you are more likely to reward other teams that have bad layouts. But that could be something that's entirely different with your restructure plan. I like it. Don, what do you think?
Because you look, go ahead.
So there's 14 teams that make the playoffs in the NFL. Is that correct?
Currently, yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then the top one gets a bye. The other 6 have to play on each conference, basically.
Well, didn't they go to 8 and the top 2 got the bye because you have Super Wild Card Weekend?
No, it's still just one.
Yeah. There's 7 teams on each side.
The Super Wild Card Weekend is that first weekend where that number 1 seed gets the bye.
Okay.
Yeah,
then you have traditional wild card weekend, divisional, and so on.
Basically, what I don't mind, unless they do the NFL but NBA is a different beast than football because it's so hard on the body compared to NBA, and that's why it's so less games. I would do 16 teams in the NBA, 8 on each conference. Top teams get in. You know what I'm saying?
So go back to their old structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically,
I'm good with that.
Now,
because let me ask you this: look at the Western Conference, because we haven't even talked about the Western Conference playoff picture yet.
Hold on a second. Ron, what were you starting to say?
So if on the, let's say though, if the number 8 team on each conference in the NBA, if they're under 500, then should they get in or not, Rob? If they're the last number 8?
No.
Okay.
If you're under 500, you don't get in the playoffs. And one of 2 things happens. You create another wild card for a team that is above 500. And if they're not, guess what? Somebody gets a bye.
Okay.
I'm good with the bye. That's what I was trying to get at with the NBA. I don't think that they can reward a winning team in any playoff structure they've had over, let's say, the 8th seed. The reason that it was there was because they were the 8th seed and everybody behind them was worse. Now they have 10 seeds, so I don't know that applies here. That's the only way I could see it applying is with the restructure with the divisions like you were talking about, Rob.
And you also haven't said, I've already said NBA a bunch of times and you haven't said anything.
They are getting a pass from me for this month.
Okay, fair enough.
Because and I will tell this to everybody. If you throw canned vegetables at bigots, I will not talk smack about you.
So I want to give you guys a little bit of the Western Conference. If the Eastern Conference is bad, the Western Conference is worse. Because if those playoffs started today, you're above the red line. Clippers, who are 10 games below 500, would automatically be in. Memphis, the Lakers.
I'm not saying the word, but I hate the NBA.
I'm sorry. The Clippers have a winning record. I apologize. I had that backwards.
Okay.
Clippers, Memphis, Lakers, Denver, Houston, OKC. But in the red zone right now, Phoenix and Sacramento, both of whom are below 500. Minnesota, Golden State. The only team, well, actually 3 of the last 5 mathematically aren't out of it given the number of games left, being Dallas, Portland, San Antonio. If you take all 4 of the teams in the red zone currently and combine them, they are on an 8-game losing streak right now. 1 for Phoenix, 4 for Sacramento, 1 for Minnesota, 2 for Golden State. It's almost April.
Yeah.
But let's just get everybody into the playoffs. Because, we got 140 teams in the NCAA anyway.
Did I ever find that video to send you? The all the leagues discussing their playoff structure. And it's literally the NCAA is just twitching in the corner.
Maryland is giving Florida all they can handle right now.
Oh, I only have Gamecast available to me right now, and I am stressing in the first half.
NHL John Tortorella out with the Flyers announced today. He'll land somewhere. He's got a ring.
He's got multiple rings, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Eastern Conference, Atlantic Division, the Sabres. They are not doing well. They are, but they're only 25 points out of first place with 12 games to go. They are 5 points back on Boston Bruins, or 3 back on Detroit. Detroit, 3 back on Montreal. Yeah, we got to get Don a better microphone. Montreal now.
Did that come through for you?
There's always a delay when you start talking. It's like you have to talk for a little while before your mic picks it up. So we got to fix that.
Okay.
So you might want to start with an
back on. Yeah. Ottawa now 8 points back of the Lightning. Lightning 2 back on the Panthers. The Panthers are now tied with Toronto at 89 points apiece. Where are we going, Don?
Walton Division.
We are indeed the aforementioned Philadelphia Flyers. They're terrible. They are almost 40 points out of first place, but given who leads that division, there's a reason. They are 4 points back on your beloved Pittsburgh.
That's the perfect storm.
Yeah. Pittsburgh now 4 back on Columbus. Blue Jackets are a point back on the Rangers. Rangers are tied with the Islanders, but they're both 9 points back in New Jersey. New Jersey is 7 back of Carolina. Let me put this framework in place for you. New Jersey and Carolina have 83 and 90 points respectively. If Carolina was in the Atlantic Division, they would lead that division by a point. Let's be clear. However, they ain't in the Atlantic Division. They're in the Metropolitan, and they trail the Capitals by 13 points. The Capitals have broken the century mark, and they have 11 games left. They have clinched their playoff spot, obviously. In the Western Conference, as soon as I can make that work, there we go. Central Division. The Chicago Blackhawks, yeah, good luck. If they doubled their point total, they'd be tied for first. They are 11 points back.
Connor Bedard wishes he could double himself.
Yeah. Nashville now 13 back on Hockey Club. Hockey Club is now 8 back on St. Louis. The Blues are 2 back on Minnesota. Minnesota 6 back on Colorado. Colorado's 5 back on Dallas. Dallas would lead the Atlantic Division right now because they've got 96 points, but they're still second to Winnipeg, who has also broke the century mark. They're only a point behind Washington. They got 102 points right now. In the Pacific Division, San Jose, put a pin in it. They are 19 points back of Seattle, kids.
Seattle not exactly playing well.
Kraken are 4 back on the Ducks. The Ducks actually not that. They're 1 point. They're 1 place better than the cellar they've been in for so long. But they're still 9 back on Calgary. Calgary's a point back on Vancouver. The Canucks are 7 points back on Edmonton, who are 2 points back on the Kings. Vegas at 94 points leads that division. They're on a boat between them and Los Angeles. That's an 8-game heater. They've won 4 in a row apiece. Don, you're flying solo this week because Alex has to recuse himself because someone ruined North America's favorite game show for him.
Same answer.
So, well, let me do the intro first. Okay. Good Lord. You've done this show before, right? You've been on this show.
Maybe once or twice.
What is... Yeah. Don, what is your guess for what is the goal differential for the San Jose Sharks?
The same thing, 75.
75.
Negative 75.
San Jose Sharks have played 70 games. In those 70 games, they are 19, 42, and 9. for a grand total of 47 points.
Ooh.
They are 11-22-2 at home. They are 8-20-7 on the road. Before winning their last game, they lost 5 straight. Don, you're only 2 off because that goal differential is minus 77. I don't think we're going to hit the century mark, but man, they can get close because there's plenty of time and you're thinking there's a chance.
But I just want to I just want you to think about this. If San Jose were a remotely serious franchise, but just got unlucky and struggled to a 1-goal loss in every game, they would still not have as bad of a losing a differential as they do right now.
Let me melt your brain. They are currently 32 points behind Calgary. Okay. They have only scored 4 less goals this season than Calgary.
So San Jose has scored 4 less goals.
They scored 182 goals. Calgary has scored 186. Now, Chicago...
that goals against.
Well, and that's this. They've scored the same amount of goals as Nashville. But San Jose's given up almost 260 goals this year.
I'm going to go in the way back machine for a second. Boy, is this Sharks team missing Evgeny Nabokov.
Good mercy.
Because remember, this was what the Sharks were every year, except for the fact that Nabokov was an all-time tender. So
we'll look more about playoffs next week because we're already running way behind. Let's get into the pop culture part of this. Into TV and stuff we watched this week in television. Anything, boys?
Want to go, Alex? Or?
It's been a bit of a weird week for me. Oh, sorry, Don.
No,
do you want to lead?
You want to go first? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. A bit of a weird one for me. Not really new stuff, but I did finally watch Blue Mountain State. And for knowing certain people, it's hilariously ridiculous. It really is even further off the rails than I expected. Rob, you were 1,000% right on that. Like anything I could think of, it's going to get crazier.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm glad I watched it, but
it started on Spike TV. So they fit into the Spike TV mold very well.
1,000%. They hit every niche that network had. Yep. Haven't really kept up with anything besides that. Spoiler alert for later, I'm not going to have any movies. But I you know what? Blue Mountain State is available on Prime Video in its entirety, including the follow-up movie, which I have absolutely watched. Oh, dear God, do I feel like I need to send a text message that just said, bro, are you okay? And it's been 10 years.
It's all on Prime if you have Amazon.
That's what I just said. Yes.
Okay, it's all on Prime. The whole...
How many seasons? Yep, that's literally what I just said. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what... But all the seasons... So...
Yes, literally what I just said.
No, he's asking how many seasons were there.
Oh, there was a question. It was 3 seasons and a movie.
Okay, and what's the basic premise of it?
It's a fictional college football program.
Think about the most... If you made Animal House in the mid-2010s and made it all about football players, that's kind of what it was.
Much it. Yeah.
Okay.
But make it way crazier.
So for me, I did see first off the Dark Side of the Ring started this last week. Okay.
I've been holding off on that one, so I'm going to be curious to hear what you say.
Nick Foley, Hell in the Cell.
No. I know it's Mick Foley, but
yeah. Secondly, the Righteous Gemstones on HBO, the new season started. Bradley Cooper was the first. They just had this kind of off episode, like the history of the family with Bradley
setting
Cooper.
up the origin. Yeah.
It
was really well done.
Yeah. And then
I forgot it's been a couple of weeks. I have watched that too.
Yeah. I love the pit, and it's so realistic. But man, one of those just recent episodes, it got too realistic on it. Too realistic. And it's just like, even Fakeness going, oh, the Fantastic Four.
It's on Max, so.
Yeah, it's I love it. It's, but they don't hold back on the graphic reality of being in an emergency room. Put it that way. So, love the show. That's all I got.
You got anything, Rob?
Nothing TV wise this week. I just need to prepare myself for what I'm about to say.
Uh-oh.
Remember, we have been off for 2 weeks.
That doesn't feel good.
So I've been holding on to this for 2 weeks. Ted Lasso season 4. Ted Lasso season 4. Ted Lasso season 4. And Sudeikis is in. And it's allegedly going to be about the women's team that he will be coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I am very much ready.
The one that was teased in the finale. Spoiler alert.
So I'm very excited. And I'm going to binge my Blu-rays as we get closer. Because I haven't even looked to see if there's any special features on it. Because I want to see if there's commentary.
But we do have confirmation. Sudeikis, Hunt. I am so off timing right now.
Yeah, you're on a bit of a delay.
So we have Sudeikis, Hunting. Brett Goldstein, I believe he said he's confirmed behind the scenes, but there has been no confirmation if Roy Kent will be on it, which I think would be a big miss. No confirmation of any of the other players at this time. Hannah Waddingham and Juno Temple will both be back. As well as, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on Jeremy Swift, who played Leslie in the show, has been confirmed to be back. However, they have opened casting. Am I stepping on your toes?
No, go ahead.
Okay. They have opened casting for Henry, who was Ted Lasso's son. Now, early reports are that the original actor has been invited to re-audition, but with certain things they are having the character do, they are having to cast a wider net for, let's say, somebody who may be a bit more skilled with a soccer or football. But we need this. We need this so badly right now.
Oh, I just finally saw the State Farm commercial that was teased a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, are you talking about the bait man?
Yeah.
Oh, they have like 5 different versions of it, so don't think you're done, sir.
Oh, good Lord, have mercy on my soul.
Don, have you started jumping in on any of those Ted Lasso episodes yet, or just the ones that you saw during the free weekend?
Free weekend, because we don't have a subscription.
All right, they've also renewed Severance for season 3. That came down the other day.
I have heard so much from so many people. I watched the first episode. Somebody reach out to me. The Vexploit, it's right down here. Somebody reach out to me. Tell me when I'm supposed to start getting into Severance, because I feel like I don't even want to go to the second episode because it was a wild miss on the first one for me.
I'm told it takes a while to settle into itself. Okay. Because there's a lot of world building that has to lead up to something. So CBS has renewed Watson for season.
Have you seen the other Severance note?
I have not.
A lot of people want one of the actors to play Barry Bonds in a production of some kind.
Okay.
The appearance is staggering. It's really close.
CBS has canceled Taylor Tomlinson's After Midnight after 2 seasons, which I've seen clips from that show and it looks very funny. So they are also looking at another.
I've heard some stuff behind the scenes about that.
Okay. They're looking at another
Ron Funches
with Luke Grimes is playing Beth's brother Case. So you got that going for you.
Casey.
Oh, is it Casey? Okay.
Yes.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's the one I was alluding to.
Disney Plus has announced this week that even though season 2 doesn't start until December, they've already given a 3rd season to Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Mm-hmm. That's not the only extension I've seen from a show that hasn't gone through yet. I'm sure you're going to get to that one soon.
Could be. I don't know. ESPN announcing today that the LA edition of SportsCenter, they're going to move that back to Bristol.
Nice.
Fox is getting American Dad back for season.
Oh, really?
8. The TBS run is done. It's going back to Fox for season 20.
Wow.
Hallmark has said they're doing another holiday touchdown movie, this time based around the Buffalo Bills. I think this will probably be loosely based on one Josh Allen.
I just hope that on American Dad that they don't have to comment down to go to Fox. I hope they keep that.
Where it started.
I have a feeling that Seth MacFarlane has that in a contract that he basically gets carte blanche.
Yeah.
Let's see. HBO Max. Jason Ritter has joined the cast of Lanterns. He'll be playing Billy Macon, son of Garrett Dillahunt's character. So kind of a pseudo bad guy, if you will. The Pit has been renewed for season 2, Don.
Okay.
And we have Harry Potter casting news. Alex, did you see this?
I have seen all of them, I think.
The casting of Hagrid?
I did.
Nick Frost. Let's go. Love him.
Where's that going to be on?
It's going to be on Max.
On Max.
Yeah, series.
Yeah, and apparently they're going to go deeper into the books, or at least that's the statement they're making. But the biggest thing, and I'm kind of curious since we haven't really talked about this either, is how do you feel about the no non-Brit rule getting thrown out?
You broke up on me there for a minute.
And I lost it.
No, I can hear you, but you're frozen on my screen. Now you're back. Nope, and now you're frozen again.
He's gone again. He's coming to him.
It's all right.
There he is.
Okay. What was the last thing that came through?
What rule? Something about
choppy.
A rule?
Yeah, it was something about a rule, but it was real choppy.
Non-Brit rule or something like that.
Oh, I apologize. So originally when making the films, am I coming through okay before I keep going?
Yes.
That took a long time. The films had a rule that no non-British actors were used unless it was a character from another location. And even then, they stuck to the British acting pool for the most part. How do you feel about that being thrown out for the series?
I don't have enough invested, to be honest with you. John Lithgow's in it. So good.
I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm. That's the one where I learned about it getting thrown out because there was, and the reason I asked that is because when they were setting up for the movies, there was a very beloved American actor who fought tooth and nail to try and get cast as Hagrid and was turned away because of the non-Brit rule.
All right.
I don't know. Do you guys know about this?
No, does not ring a bell.
But the guy who played Hagrid, I'm fine with anyways, you know. But I see your point. Yeah.
No, Robbie
Coltrane was great.
Yeah.
But Nick Frost
the person
was really good.
Yeah, put a pin in that, sir. The person who was fighting tooth and nail to try and get the Hagrid role was Robin Williams.
I did hear something about that at one point. That does ring a bell.
And they said the only reason he didn't get it was because of the requirement that they cast somebody British.
I got something triggered in my brain as I was watching some of the coverage here on CBS. Did you see there is an upcoming retirement announcement as it pertains to CBS Sports, Alex?
I don't know that I saw this.
This will be Gary Danielson's last season doing NCAA football.
Oh, well, dude's earned it.
Yep. Hulu has announced that season 5 of Only Murders in the Building, more guest stars. Christoph Waltz, yes, please. Renee Zellweger, yes, please. And Keegan-Michael Key will all make appearances in season 5.
Always.
I have got to catch up on that show. As we get into NBC Peacock news, have you guys heard about this new sitcom that Tina Fey is going to be producing? She's doing something for Netflix, but that's
not enough to be truly informed, but I have heard that some semblance of rumblings.
So the show will star Tracy Morgan. I get that. They were great on 30 Rock. He is playing a former football player who wants to rehab his image. Have you heard who his co-star will be as a documentarian wanting to film it? Alex is on a bit of a delay here.
I think I'm missing something here.
His co-star,
I may have missed something altogether.
Tracy Morgan's co-star will be a documentarian wanting to film him rehabbing his character. But have you heard who will be playing said documentarian?
No, but this sounds like they took the script from Mr. 3000 and just amalgamated it.
Submitted for your approval, one Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, let's do that. Now, I also want to clarify, I am not a huge Harry Potter fan, but I am a fan of quality cinema.
I loved it. I love the films.
I can imagine it being right up your alley, Don.
This week's SNL will be Mikey Madison from Enora with Morgan Wallen as your musical guest. Next week, Jack Black will be hosting, and there will be a dual musical guest as Elton John and Brandy Carlisle will be working together. And April 12th, John Hamm will be on, and Lizzo is your musical guest. Those are your next 3 episodes of SNL. Also got a very...
I want to ask on SNL, do they put the whole season out, like plan the whole season of who's going to be the guest in the music act? Or is it kind of...
I don't think they do. I think they do it. I mean, they may have it mapped out, but they don't announce it.
Okay.
They'll only do 3 to 4 weeks at max at a time.
Okay.
Because they'll do 3 weeks and then be gone for 4. So they got to work on availability and things like that. I got another interesting piece of news for NBC Peacock this weekend, gentlemen. We have talked about this in the past, but we haven't talked about it in a while. We had talked about Peacock doing a prequel series to Friday the 13th called Crystal Lake. Do you remember we talked about this a little bit?
I saw about this. I saw the headline you're referring to.
We have casting for Jason's mother, Pamela Voorhees.
Okay.
She will be played by Linda Cardellini.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, please. All of the Linda Cardellini. Love her. We talked about Tina Fey for Netflix. I said this earlier. She is actually producing a series based on the 1981 Alan Alda film, 4 Seasons. It's going to start May 1st. Basically, it's the story of 4 couples who get together and for a retreat, and in the middle of it, find out that one of the couples is divorcing. They're also doing a competition series that will be based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Competition series on this.
I mean, they did it with Friends. And they are developing 8 episodes of a live-action Scooby-Doo series.
How did they do a competition on Charlie and the Chocolate? Did they just do trivia or something? Or
I think it's going to be a baking show, Don.
Yes, please. All of the
I think they're going to be chocolatiers and candy makers and things like that. Because they've done cakes and everything everywhere else.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of interested in this live-action Scooby-Doo. I want to see what they do. They're only doing 8 episodes. So Paramount Plus has also said season 3 of Tulsa King is going to add Robert Patrick and Bo Knapp as series regulars.
Nice.
TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week, season 3 of Abbott Elementary and seasons 4 in the complete series for Superman and Lois will be available on Tuesday. Let's get into movies and stuff we watched this week for movies. Outside of screenings, Don, did you watch anything? Because Alex has already said he doesn't have anything.
Yeah, besides the screenings, no, not really.
All right, let's get into it. Kind of sad news that was announced yesterday. If you don't know who Drew Struzan is, he is a very famous artist of movie one-sheets. If you remember the interlocking one-sheets for Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3, that's him. If you remember the original one-sheet for Goonies, that's him. Most of your Indiana Jones posters, that's him. It was his wife announced officially yesterday that he is suffering with Alzheimer's. And so she is doing her best to help out with all of his websites and keeping up with everything. So we want to send our best. I mean, the man is an absolute. There is a documentary out about him. I believe it's on Prime Video. Go check that out. It's wonderful, and his work is amazing. Like, to me, he is to one sheets what Alex Ross is to comics. So,
good relay.
Utah loses Sundance, boys. In 2027, it is leaving Park City and going to Boulder, Colorado.
Did you ever think you would say that?
I didn't think Slam Dance would go to LA either, and it's gone too. So there's been a lot of debate in the state of Utah, which, I am the governor emeritus. So, I did everything I could. Big news from the AMC theater chain this week. Did you see this headline, boys? Did you see this? Did you read about this? I'm sorry. That's my Jay Leno. 65 AMC theaters between now and 2027 will feature ScreenX and or 40X. So good. AMC is up in their game. They've got IMAX now. They've got Dolby Cinema. Now we're going to ScreenX, where there's the screens on the side and it stretches the picture, and 40X, which is fully immersive. So we're going to see how that works out, because I would love to see a movie in 40X. And now let's talk about Marvel. Don, did you see the big announcements yesterday?
No.
We don't.
Can we call it a big announcement or just videos?
Well, here's the thing. We don't have enough time in this show to go through the whole thing. The cast for Avengers Doomsday has been announced, and it's going to be stacked. As I have been saying for months, the cast of Fantastic Four will be involved, so my theory is still intact. You are also going to have the OG X-Men cast involved. So we're going to see how that works out.
I believe it's only the two that have appeared in MCU projects already at this point. Because they've only announced 2 from that. I only saw Stewart and Grammer.
Marsden's been announced.
I can't tell if the screen is frozen.
No.
Oh, so I must have missed some. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw some today. Warner Brothers is going to lose $75 million on Mickey 17. And I had heard very, very good things about that.
I feel like that's going to be one of those movies that's going to be the cult phenomenon. It misses in the box office, but there will be the rumbling. I mean, this is the same guy that did Snowpiercer, and that's what that did.
He also did Parasite. And that got
which also failed in the theaters, if you remember. Yeah.
We're looking to get a single white female remake.
Why?
Oh, no.
With Jenna Ortega and Taylor Russell.
I don't care. I hate them.
Oh, speaking of things that Don hates, Alex and I were having a discussion a couple of weeks ago.
We've talked about that before, actually.
And I need you to clarify something for me, Don.
Okay.
When you had your incident with Nicole Kidman, what movie was she working on?
The first incident was Far and Away in Billings, Montana.
Okay, so I was right there. It was Far and Away because that was featured.
Yes, you
on,
were. Wait. But he said the first incident.
Right, but let me tag, and then he can give the other one. The reason I had said that was because that was featured on Matinee Heroes a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
I did not know there was more than one incident.
No, the other one was at the Four Seasons later.
Was she working on anything at the time?
Not, I don't even remember if she was. Maybe she did some down doing promo stuff or whatever. Okay. She came into the hotel when I worked there. But I didn't see that sex per se what happened, but it was a coworker of mine who said what happened. And it's just like, oh my God, All
right, so let's do a boo-yay moment, gentlemen. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Sony is rebooting Starship Troopers.
Hey, are you talking movie?
Yes.
Boo.
However, wait for it. To be closer to the source material and written and directed by Neil Blomkamp.
Boo.
Yes.
Boo.
Yay.
Boo.
Yay.
This is the guy that did District 9, hey, Don. I trust him.
Well, let me put it in this context. Do you know what District 9 was originally supposed to be?
Yeah, there's actually a new video out about it on Bullets and Blockbusters. That was what was supposed to be the Halo movie.
About the Halo movie? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Neil Blomkamp was who Microsoft indirectly hired to make a Halo movie, thinking they were hiring Peter Jackson, but it was Peter Jackson to produce Neil Blomkamp. And with what that man was able to do with only, I want to say they said 10% of the budget to make District 9 compared to what he had. Yeah. Give me Neil Blomkamp getting a shot. I'm good with it.
Bullets and Blockbusters has a great video up about what happened with that Halo movie. Mm-hmm. Really good. Came out a couple of weeks ago. We are getting a sequel to Coco, which I'm not sure how I feel because I really, that's one of my favorite Pixar movies. So
it might actually be my favorite Pixar movie, and it kind of is conclusive.
Well, my favorite still to this day is the first Inside Out. That hit me.
You and I have had that talk. It's not even my favorite Inside Out.
We talked about how Easter weekend is Mania. Mm-hmm. It's also 420.
Yeah.
It's also Star Wars Celebration in Japan.
Oh. I swear I thought that was in May.
Friend of the show, Donna, will be there. So Donna's going. So
good for her.
We talked about Lizzo earlier. She's going to be playing Rosetta Tharpe, who is known as the godmother of rock and roll, in a biopic. And I've seen some pictures, and I'm curious. So, you boys may or may. Don, you okay over there?
Yeah, just having a computer thing real fast. Sorry about that. Be right back.
Thought he was over there taking a nap on us. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We're getting a Legally Blonde prequel series at Amazon, correct?
Okay.
We have Elle's parents cast. You both will know one of them. Alex and I will know the other. Her father will be played by the great Tom Everett Scott, who I am.
Yes.
Don, you know who he is.
Yeah.
Her mother will be played by one June Diane Raphael.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to rip the Band-Aid for him?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was asking Rob.
I don't think he's talking about me, brother.
Okay.
I was asking Rob because I didn't want to step on your toes. You know the podcast that we've talked about at length numerous times I've gone to see live shows of for How Did This Get Made?
Yeah.
She is a wildly talented actress who I guarantee you have seen in a number of projects, but probably as more of a guest star. And she is the primary female from How Did This Get Made?
Yeah. And when Paul Scheer talked about it on last week's episode, yeah, very, very cool. Excited for her. We also have a biopic of Ronnie Spector coming out that's going to be called Be My Baby.
Interesting.
Zendaya is going to play her.
Oh,
and it's for casting, and it's for A24. So,
oh dear, I'm worried now. Every time I hear A24, I'm like, oh, the movie's going to be great, but it's going to be whoa.
4 minutes into the second half, Florida's up 8. And the third Downton Abbey film will be called Downton Abbey: The Grand Finale. So get ready for that.
You think that'll be the final one, though, or it's going to be like
hence the name.
Oh, no, the grand finale is going to be the third from the last movie.
We're just giving
I'm talking about how many times have we heard "Kiss the Final Tour" or whatever the final tour.
Well, see, that's a music thing, Don.
But here's the thing with that, and I want to address that because Don does bring up a valid point. Yes,
that's what I'm trying to say.
This has been on their farewell tour since 1987, but now they're going to be touring without the makeup, so technically it doesn't count. Motley Crue is supposed to be done, but I think with Downton Abbey, I think that thing has run its course.
Okay. Well, my
wife and her mom are huge fans, so.
But I mean, isn't Maggie Smith just like the Paramount of that show or movie?
I don't know.
And that's
let's just go over new movies that we have seen because there's a huge list this week. Don saw Death of a Unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
And his review currently up at www.theclubhousepodcast.com.
That's our website.
Our website.
Kind of surprised at Don's evaluation. I don't want to spoil anything because I want you guys to go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Also up this week, reviews from both Don and myself for A Working Man. Have you boys read my review yet?
Not yet.
I'm kind of proud of myself. And I'm going to go ahead and say this because I want Alex's honest reaction.
I love your first paragraph, though. I'll say that. I love
That's what I'm talking about. So remember about, it's been 17, 18 years now.
Oh, God.
There was a movie that Chris Hemsworth did called Black Hat. And what I called it.
That was only like 6 years ago, but I remember you calling it something. But I'll have to hear.
I got it mixed with something else, but it was like 8 years ago. But something else I compared it to. And you remember
something? I know you called it. You said something very specific and only called it that. Why can I not remember this?
I called it Swordfish.
Swordfish. That's what it was. Yes.
A working man henceforth shall be known. I'll wait for you to finish drinking. Henceforth will be known as Staken.
I get it.
I win. Right,
2015.
It came to me right in the middle of the movie.
2015.
I'm like, this shall be known as Staken. It's not, and Don and I have different opinions on this film, but we also had made the same references in some cases. It's Statham.
Yeah.
And I will say there's one thing that really stuck out to me, and I really had to dig deep to justify it, and we'll talk about it off air. But it was such a glaring continuity error that it took me most of the film to rationalize it.
But Black Hat was 15.
Yeah, it's Taken that I got confused. Taken was like 18 years ago.
Okay.
So, because that was late odds.
Because I made 47 of them since then.
Yeah. Movies on DVD and Blu-ray this week: A Complete Unknown, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Companion, Dog Man will have a collector's edition available to you. Amelia Perez, which you can watch on Netflix. Flight Risk is already out on Blu-ray next week, boys.
Flight Risk was available on Prime Video streaming within 6 days.
Yeah. There's a
Taken was 2008, by the way.
Yep. There is a Liza Minnelli documentary called Liza, a truly terrific, absolutely true story, which I believe the Angelica is currently showing, but it will be available Tuesday. Love Hurts already, which I'm still
Love Hurts has also been available for streaming rental very quickly.
Love Me, which is that Kristen Stewart thing. Mufasa the Lion King.
I think that's available on Disney Plus now.
There's a My Hero Academia You're Next available. A movie that Don reviewed called One of Them Days. The Please Don't Destroy movie, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain, which I thought was already up, or maybe this is just a Blu-ray release.
It's a Blu-ray release. It was on Peacock.
Renfield, the collector's edition, which I really
because that needed one.
I'm gonna do things in reverse order this week because I'm gonna bury the lead a little bit. The Criterion Collection does a film called Ugetsu.
Okay,
but Alex, Arrow Video. As we know, Arrow Video does great work with some awesome special features. Tuesday, they release Inglourious Bastards.
Nice.
I will be looking into that.
I did see this one, actually.
I was like, "Ooh, you have my attention." You know what else has my attention? This. It is time to get into the other half of our show, known as the Cheap Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things as it pertains to the world of professional wrestling. Boys, we have to dive right in, and just like at the top of the first half of the show, the top of the second half of the show, we have an in memoriam. Bill Mercer passed away this past week at the age of 99. If you are any form of a wrestling historian or old enough to know, you would know Bill Mercer as the voice of world-class championship wrestling from 82 to 87. What you may not know is that he had been in the business since the 50s, working in Oklahoma, working in Missouri. He actually covered the JFK assassination from the field. He worked in the booth for today being opening day. He worked the booth for the inaugural Rangers season in 1972. He also worked for the Dallas Texans, the Dallas Cowboys, and Southwest Conference basketball. That's a career, boys.
And I feel very grateful that we all got to meet him.
Yep.
Too. That was really cool.
And did some work for the NWA. Absolute legend. And we want to send our best to his family because we are fans. And
when do we meet Mr. Mercer out? Where was that at? I'm trying to remember.
Was Don? Oh yeah, he was at the Iron Claw premiere. He was in his wheelchair at that point.
Okay, that's okay. It's Iron Claw. That's okay. Real fast to go back. Mufasa is on Disney Plus along with the new Moana 2.
Okay.
However, there is a known issue with Moana 2. Just so you know.
Okay.
It glitches and drops out periodically while it's playing because of some coding error they have on the visual format. And I know this because I have the error.
But speaking of legends, coming up in July, the 19th and 20th in Austin at the HEB Center is Greater Austin Comic-Con. They have announced their first guest, and it will be one Kevin Von Erich. Very excited.
I bet Ross and Marshall won't be far behind that if they're not booked.
I'm hoping. Next weekend is Hill Country Comic-Con. I'll be down in New Braunfels. If you're in the area, come say hello. 3 of the Brady kids are going to be there. So I'm looking forward to that. And some great guests at Hill Country next weekend. Come hang out in New Braunfels.
You say Brady kids, are you talking the Brady Bunch? Or
I am indeed, sir.
Okay. All right.
Susan Olsen, Mike Lookinland, and Barry Williams.
Okay.
Alex will be in Vegas for Mania this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex, if you're going to be looking for something to do on Easter Sunday.
You mean besides a certain obvious thing?
Well, yeah, during the day. WrestleCon admission is going to be free on the 20th.
Nice.
So they announced that today. TNA news, Gail Kim has been released alongside 3 other leadership members and 4 other office staffs. Gail Kim put out a statement today. Again, legend. Had a lot of input into creative, and Tommy Dreamer pretty much has the book at this point.
Well, and I think one of the things that we have talked about is possibly being set up by these moves.
So,
which is the acquisition of TNA to be an NXT counterpoint.
Yeah. Chris Bay showed up at an indie show Sunday walking under his own power.
That was the benefit for Bay, the benefit. So that was actually his show where everything went to it. And there was a lot of great people. And if you have the chance to see the video of Karrion Kross's in-ring promo, there's a reason that man is always going to be defended by me.
And shout out to the company for letting that happen for sure.
Absolutely. Which I believe you have more notes on that coming.
Sacrifice was a thing now, but they are no longer pleased. They are now TNA Live Special. So they're now Tinals.
I was going with just Tills, but I get you. No. I know what he's going for. It's just, there's nothing on the bone there.
In the opening match, which bled over, no pun intended, from the pre-show, Sami Callihan stapled Mance Warner to a turnbuckle by his mouth.
That's not the first time. That happened with us in the building before.
The only bad side to it is they didn't really sell it because there was no blood, and there would have been a lot of it.
Well, that's the scarier one. There's no blood, just the pain.
Yeah. By the way, Alabama up almost 20 with 7.5 minutes to go. Let's see here. You have new Knockouts tag champions in the Elegance brand. They'll be defending tonight against Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley, and the Meta Girls did show up as well. The main event, which was the 10-man match in the cage, which had the Dolph Ziggler turn at the end. Alex, have you gone back and watched this?
I have not. I have seen clips, but I did not watch it in its entirety.
I was being facetious at one point, but the longer it went, the more I had flashbacks to MLW. It was kind of cage.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did see this. You were telling me. I thought you were referring to the live round that occurred during the closing segment.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Somebody accidentally got their nose broke again.
But yeah, this was that cage was not good.
No.
Under Siege has been announced for May 23rd in Brampton, Ontario. So that'll be a big weekend for wrestling as well. The only Impact note I have is knowing that Chavo was going to be on their talk show, Casey Navarro doing a lot of Pardon Me in El Paso. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
WWE news. I don't know if there's any left, but if you want to get one of those WrestleMania belts, you can get one for $850. And they're only making 750 of them.
Man.
I've seen people on YouTube that already have them. And I'm like,
they're nice. I can't wrap myself around a belt at all.
Well, I also don't know that I'd ever have that level of disposable income.
That's a fair statement. But
although I've always said if I got to win the big lottery and build the compound,
yeah,
I would have a walkway from the main house to the wing of the house where I would have my theater room / studio, and that entire indoor walkway would be lighted with movie posters and wrestling belts across the top. So I can't really say that, but $850. If I had that level of money and I was in Vegas, I would buy one. But if I'm not at the event, I kind of don't care.
See, and my problem there is like, as cool of the idea of owning a belt is, I can't get past it. If I don't know if it's the old athlete version in me, but if I don't win it, I don't want it, which is weird.
I feel like I've won all 5 of the ones on the other side of the screen.
You've definitely earned them. But I can never be that guy. I just can't do it.
Alex and I talked about this the other day too, Don. They're doing after dark parties on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tickets start at $50 for one event and at $200 for all 4 nights. And there are VIP packages available. So there's music and partying but at that point, it's only going to be like 8:00 Vegas time.
Yup.
So plenty of time. The natural disaster.
So are they going to have any stars there or anything?
Yeah, no,
they have announced people being there.
Okay.
The natural disasters have been confirmed for the Hall of Fame.
Yay.
That's going to happen. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Backlash will be at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis on May 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So mark your calendars for that. We want to send our best to Lillian Garcia, who has finished up her full-time gig with the company. And so we have a new announcer on SmackDown. Somebody I've never heard of debuts tomorrow night. Megan Morant has welcomed her first child. So we want to say congratulations to her. And also strange news, I guess, to counter program WrestleCon, the Slammies are going to be on day 2 of Mania.
When has the Slammies ever mattered outside of being used as a gimmick by Owen Hart?
I don't know. Some SmackDown notes. Chelsea Green has passed 100 days as Women's United States Champion, so still the longest reigning Women's United States Champion.
Still the strongest, most intense. And
I think we can all agree that
the most boring.
I think we can all agree.
I don't agree with Don on this one. He's on an island.
Well, I'm on a completely different subject.
No, I'm just saying she's the most anything. She could be the most beautiful, the most ugly, the worst champion, the best champion she's ever been because she's the only champion.
That's the bit, Don.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that these teaser lucha videos are for Rey Fenix.
But did you realize the interesting thing about this?
That he gave the death triangle hand signal?
Well, he's been using that since longer than the death triangle was a thing.
Yeah, but I want it to be death triangle.
I understand wants and needs, but this isn't that. But the thing we've been talking about is the fact that the company was interested in the Lucha Bros. He's being advertised for SmackDown.
Yes.
Which means Penta has done the work to earn this solo, which means Rey Fenix is now going to do that, and they'll be keeping the Lucha Bros in the bag for when they need it.
This 4, from what I am reading, is not a 4. There's a piece of the character missing, and that will be on the other side of the 4 with a B after it for Aleister Black.
Correct.
And you have new tag team champs in the Street Profits.
Well deserved.
Love the new theme song, by the way.
Very good.
Very much a point. I've enjoyed that. In why did it take this long news this week? Did you see Dominic Mysterio has a big endorsement deal now?
Yeah.
For the record, it's always kind of been an endorsement deal, but now there's a corporate sponsor.
Yeah.
Is it for Shanks?
No, it's for Wingstop. So now
Why
we
did
can
you just try to ruin the bit on that one, Don?
Okay, it's all right.
It's something nobody's heard of.
You fight through it. Wingstop. So now we can have all the chicken tendies he wants.
He's already cutting commercials just whenever they show him.
I love it.
And what's the thing with Dominic? I don't get that bit.
That's all he talks about, Don. When it's
chicken,
like chicken tendies. He loves his chicken tendies, and it's real. Like that's a real thing. He was on Chris Van Vliet and said, "No, everywhere we go, I have chicken tenders. Everywhere we go, it's my favorite thing in the world." And now he has an endorsement.
Okay.
With Wingstop, no less, who does good chicken tenders.
Alex, have you watched the vignette for Grande Americano yet?
You mean El Grande Americano? Yes.
I giggled like a child. And he's using some Casio keyboard version of Stars and Stripes Forever.
Okay. For the record, I was having a moment because I was like, I am sure I know that song, but because of the way it's being played, it's not letting me understand it.
It's borderlining on uncomfortable. That's all I'm saying.
But it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. Did you see what the alleged payoff to this is going to be?
I have not.
Don, have you seen the payoff for El Grande Americano, allegedly?
No.
We are going to have if true, so allegedly, we may be getting a WrestleMania mask versus mask match between El Grande Americano and Rey Mysterio.
By the way, Alabama has officially broken the clock and they're up 21. For those of you who don't know what that means in college, when you score over 100, you break the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Lucian Price from NXT is out with a hand injury. That's why we haven't seen him in a minute. And I saw a headline today, Alex, and I don't think you're going to like it. Are you going to stand in?
Yeah, that's not surprising. At this point, yes. Maybe. Yeah, probably.
You better hit the breakfast buffet because your new start time is 9:30 a.m. West Coast.
Good with it.
Just be prepared. It's coming.
Do you want me to tell you why I'm not concerned with that?
Because that way you can watch the whole thing and still make it in time for Mania?
No, that's what the time's always been. That's what the time has been advertised. The problem is they've been putting everything in Eastern time zone. That's not new information at this point.
Okay, good.
That's just adjusting to the time zone.
AEW news: Mercedes Moné has passed 300 days as TBS champion. So there's that.
The sound you're hearing is everybody going mild.
And because Toni Storm just can't keep away from headlines, all this trash she's been talking about Wendy Richter.
Yes.
Wendy Richter has replied.
Oh, yes.
Wendy Richter says she will wrestle Toni Storm for $20 million.
Isn't she like 90 now or something?
She's got to be. Because she was at WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, and she was 30 then. Yeah. Kudos to her taking it on that one.
Saraya no longer with AEW?
Put a pin in that because the contracts are getting run out, but there has also been some rumor and innuendo about other things that have led to this.
I mean,
if you guys were to, without looking, how old do you think Wendy Richter is? I just looked it up.
74.
Okay.
I was going to guess about 75, but yeah.
64. She was born in 1960.
Oh, so she was young during the first one.
Hold on. You do math. That means she was in her early 20s at WrestleMania.
Yeah. September 8th, 1960. She's 64, born in Dallas.
Both episodes of Slam Dunk did not hit my DVR, so I watched them on Max. But before we get there, I want to talk about last week's Collision, the opening with Ricochet cutting this huge promo on Shibata. Cut to Shibata pushes a button on his phone, and it just says, "Shut up, Baldy. Moving on to the next one." I laughed out loud. I enjoyed that very much.
Shibata is better than everybody that they're giving talking segments to.
And last night with his button that just said, "I see what you did there," and we'll get to that here in a minute. So night one, since it didn't go to the DVR, I watched it on Max through Apple TV. Mm-hmm. It took me a while to find it because it wasn't on the AEW page, so I had to just do a search on AEW and then found it.
So now you see what I'm talking about with whatever they did on Max has made it more complicated than it did for Solution. Yeah.
Well, and it did have the commercials in it. I could skip them, but with Apple TV, I was having to double click. For some reason, I had to do it for every advancement. Night two, I watched on the Roku. There was no double click, but it took a while to catch up to itself. So I was noticing the status bar wasn't updating. So I don't know if it's a glitch or if it's not buffering properly. So Max, fix it. And they're saying it could happen again for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Fix it. Speaking of Ricochet, congratulations. He and Samantha Irvin are now married, which is why he was not on Dynamite and he was there on video last night. Watching last night's Dynamite, keep that set design. I love that set design. One big screen, heels come out on the left, faces come out on the right.
Allegedly, that's what it is.
Alex doesn't have to complain about the tunnels anymore.
Mm-hmm. But allegedly, this is the new setup.
It looks great. It looks great. I'm kind of okay with the way this international title match ends at Dynasty, which is kind of contrary to a lot of the things that I've said on this show in the last few years, because I always have had a problem when talent has any influence on the book. And as we know, Kenny Omega does. But I'm okay no matter who wins this, and that includes Kenny Omega, because I think this is the rebuilding of Kenny Omega. So if he retains, I'm good.
Omega has never booked men's.
But he has influence on the book. I didn't say he has the book.
Influence, yes. But what I wanted to clarify for anybody that might think, Omega, to our knowledge, has only booked women's and has not had the book for the men's. But like Rob said, this could very much have the influence on there. I still think we wind up somehow leading into our triple threat at All In between all the O guys.
I felt bad for Thunder Rosa because she had that shirt and then Tony renamed their tag team.
Yeah.
And that Joe Hook segment.
Oh my God, yes.
I loved that so just when Joe just went, yeah, okay.
You're right. Yeah. How amazingly funny is Samoa Joe?
Well,
how shockingly funny is he?
I love the meta of that entire situation.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, when we had the main event Mafia, the reason they brought Joe in was so Taz could mentor him. And now he is doing the same for Hook. And that just brings me joy. It just does.
Full circle is good.
We also had another wedding. Layla Gray got married a couple of weeks ago. So congrats to her. And Ring of Honor has announced that Supercard of Honor is going to be 2 weeks after Mania this year. It's going to be May 2nd in Atlantic City.
Oh,
but they said earlier this year that it wasn't going to be the same weekend this year. They just didn't say when and where. So, anything that we haven't talked about that you boys want to?
Don, did you have something? Okay. Real quick, the only thing that we did not say, the announcer's name is going to be Mark Nash.
Yes, thank you.
That is a pseudonym for Mark Schoonach, who, weird 2 degrees of separation here, not only covered Top Rank Boxing for ESPN, but is also the VP of Entertainment and the in-house, essentially hype man for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, nice.
So we might actually have some mutual friends. I'll have to see how that goes when I'm in Vegas.
Real fast, though, we did get our tickets for All In, me and the Fantastic Faye Ford.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're booked for that.
I also want to say shout out to Texas Pinball Festival. I did get to go this past weekend. Yeah. Play the John Wick table.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the new Dungeons and Dragons table is fantastic. fantastic.
What do you mean by table when you say table?
Pinball table.
Oh, you mean pinball machine?
They're called tables.
Never heard that. I'm from Montana. We never heard that before.
And
now, to clarify, did you look up where any of them may be in the Metroplex by the chance? Where a John Wick or a Dungeons and Dragons may be?
John Wick's all over the place because I went through that with Scott the other night, and he and I also talked about the John Wick experience that's now in Vegas. That looks amazing. And I'm not afraid to say this: the Thunder Smurfs table, a lot of fun.
You know what? You have been very open of if you want to entertain Rob with a pinball. Or with a pinball table, he will adjust his scope.
And Don,
yeah,
did you notice the one I sent you? What it was?
ABBA.
That was an ABBA table I had never seen before, and it was cool. And I sent one to Alex. I didn't get to play it, but somebody did a homemade machine of The Greatest Showman. That was insane.
They did it in a vintage style too. That was really well done.
It was
so on the ABBA game. If you get 1 billion points, do you get a free game?
Every game does that, but it was kind of they had rights to the music. They had full motion video. They had a concert that hadn't ever been released on anything but except when it was shown live.
Wow,
it was an impressive table.
So it's playing the music and stuff the whole time on.
Oh, absolutely! Couldn't really hear it because it's loud in there. But when
I say the 1 billion points because they were offered $1 billion to do reunion tour and they turned it down.
But
okay.
But it was
thanks for the clarification on that, Don. I was wondering that was going to eat at me.
The room was not as there were less vendors. Like Double Danger wasn't there this year.
Oh,
so there was more room to maneuver, which was that's
the
side of it.
Yeah.
But Doc and I had a blast. Thanks to everybody that came out and saw Grace Descending on Saturday night. We had a good show. We're getting ready to plan the next one. I'm taking a down weekend this weekend. But other than that, let's do the plugs. Over to the right of Alex's head is a QR code. That QR got it. Oh no, no, the other way.
Oh, so it is reversed. So this is right?
Yes.
Okay, that's not right on my screen, so it's on yours.
I think it's a setting you can put in that you're not mirroring.
Oh, I have it as mirror, so we'll see.
That's why. That's probably why. Scan that for all of our social media and stuff. You can follow me on your social medias. Everything is that Rob Irvin. That is spelled ERVIN.
I'm Vexploit on all of our social medias. If you'd like to help out the show, please go to ProWrestlingTees.com and search for the Cheap Popcast. It is the second part of our show. There's a lot of different shirt options, a lot of different color options within those. If you're an artist who has suggestions on any tweaks or even designs you'd like to submit, you will make 100% of the proceeds of anything sold, and you could send that to me at alex@theclubhousepodcast.com.
World to get awesome shirts that even make me look good. ProWrestlingTees.com/Cheap Podcast. And Twitter, I'm Bulu. IGN, you. If you want the mess your place, email me, Don@theclubhousepodcast.com.
Email Don for information on how we can come do this show at your establishment. We love doing live shows and hanging out with the Empire. You can email me questions, comments, concerns. Tell me to go pound sand. I am Rob@theclubhousepodcast.com. Right now, just over 7 minutes left. Florida is up 16. Happy second wedding anniversary to Charlotte and Kale yesterday. So shout out to my sister because she's on Pinterest and we're morally obligated to say that. Our show normally Thursday nights, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, your one-stop shop for all things sports, entertainment, pop culture, and pro wrestling. So until next time, for Alex, for Don, for the Empire, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. 2 things. 1, big announcement coming next week. 2, Brittany Palmer. I think she's still in Europe and she's putting up all some amazing pictures. You really should follow her on Instagram. I'm just saying.
This is a Stolen Water Media production.